Hello artists, and welcome back to Art at Home with Mrs. Kellogg. Well, we're entering into the season of giving, so I thought it'd be a great idea to create an art piece called The Giving Tree. Now this lesson has been inspired by two people, Shel Silverstein, the author of the poem called The Giving Tree, and artist Gustav Klimt, who created an amazing painting called The Tree of Life. I've included a link to Gustav Klimt's painting and a link to Shel Silverstein's poem, The Giving Tree, on the Arts website. I hope you'll read the poem, and I hope you take a look at Gustav Klimt's painting, because I think they'll give you a lot of great ideas. Now, I want to tell you more about the lesson and the materials that you will need, so meet me over at my workspace. This is the Giving Tree art piece that we're going to create for our art lesson today. And this is a copy of Gustav Klimt's painting, The Tree of Life. And as you can tell, I gained a lot of inspiration from Gustav Klimt's painting. And as I said before, after reading Shel Silverstein's poem, The Giving Tree, I also gained a lot of inspiration from that poem. Because that poem is about a tree that gives unconditionally. So in the spirit of giving, I thought it'd be nice to give my art as a gift, or even making this piece of art into a card with a nice note to someone. Now, let me tell you the materials we'll be using for today's project. So, as we always do, you want to make sure that you lay down your art mat on your workspace or newspaper first. I'm using a square piece of art paper, but if you want to use a larger piece of paper or a different size piece of paper, that's fine. And if you did want to make it into a card, remember you could just fold it and create, for example, on this paper, a smaller tree of life picture. And I'm going to use some watercolor, so I want my paper thick enough that I can use watercolor. I want to use a pencil. I'm going to use two types of marker for this project, but you could use a colored pencil. I'm going to use an ultra thin black Sharpie and a fine tip black Sharpie. I'm going to use oil pastels, but you can always use crayons if you'd prefer. I'm also going to watercolor the background. So what I want to do is have my watercolor set, my paintbrush, and I want to have a paper towel and a cup to put water in. Now would be a great time for you to pause the video, get all your supplies and your workspace set up, and then meet me back here and we'll get started on our Giving Tree art project. Did you get your materials? Great, then let's get started. So I'm going to start with pencil to create my Giving Tree, and I'm going to focus on two elements of art, line and shape. Some of my branches are going to go off the page. I'm going to work from the top and to the bottom. So this is going to be the space in between some of my branches. So what I think of as kind of a curvy triangle. And if you remember from some of our other lessons, this is called negative space, the area in between the branches. And then when I draw this other line, this is that positive space. Now, I'm going to use a lot of lines because I'm going to have a lot of fun drawing spirals in this project. So for example, come up, and then I'm going to curve my line, and I'm going to keep going. So that's my line. Now, I'm going to reverse out of that to make it a shape. And then any lines I don't want, I'm going to get rid of. Sometimes I'll leave them in there to see if I might work off of those lines. The next step is I'm going to add some design work into my tree. And remember, design is just like a pattern. So think of it this way. It's a pattern of line, shape, color, or texture. So it's a repetition of those elements of art. What I love about Gustav Klimt's painting are his designs that he creates, because to me they look like these beautiful mosaics that he's created with paint. So I'm going to use a lot of inspiration from his artwork when I'm creating my design. And what I really love about this project, it gives you the opportunity to create your own unique design and your own unique giving tree. Now, when I create my design, I'm going to use a black ultrafine Sharpie marker so that you can see what I'm drawing better. But I recommend using a pencil first, because if you want to change your design, you're able to erase it. So repetition is one of the big design principles. So I want to think about that as I'm creating all the design on my tree. And I'm going to put a background in. Because it's winter, I think I'm going to use some circles for snow. And I'm just going to continue using Gustav Klimt's painting, The Tree of Life, as inspiration to create design. And even I'm going to use that on the ground. And the other thing I like the idea of is adding maybe some words. You could even add fruit to the tree if you'd like to do that. So use your own creativity in this project. So that's what's fun about this project. There's no right or wrong. You can use a lot of your own unique creative ideas. So I'm going to continue to work on this. And so I'll finish my drawing, and then I'm going to trace everything with my ultrafine Sharpie. And again, if you don't have that, you can always use a colored pencil, will work really well. This would be a great time for you to pause the video, draw your tree of life, and add your design work to your tree, and trace your tree. And then when you're done, we'll meet back here and we'll start adding some color. Did you finish drawing and tracing your giving tree? I bet you added a lot of amazing designs into your tree. Well, now let's have fun and add some color to our giving trees. I'm going to add yellow and this gold color. I've looked at a lot of Gustav Klimt's paintings, and he adds a lot of gold into his paintings. So that's inspired me to use some gold into my paintings. When you think of choosing your colors, you can choose whatever colors you'd like. So always put your colors next to each other and look at them together to see if they're going to work for you. For example, this dark blue, since I added black into some of my designs, that dark blue is not going to have my designs standing out too well. So I think about that while I'm working. So for example, maybe the light blue next to that's going to work a little bit better. Now I'm going to continue to add color into my giving tree. And I'm also going to add some white into these circles to create a snowy background. So now would be a great time for you to pause the video and start adding color into your giving tree. And then after I'm done, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add watercolor and create a watercolor resist. Now, if you don't have oil pastels, you can always do this with crayon. Did you finish adding color to your giving tree? Great. Then let's start painting. So we are going to be using watercolor. So make sure that you have a cup of water, and I always like having a paper towel close by. And I'm just going to get my brush really, really wet. And I am going to choose this kind of magenta color. And I like to have more water in the beginning because it helps the paint spread more. And it's easier to get your colors darker, harder to get them lighter. But if you do get them too dark, you can always take that paper towel, blot it, and that'll lighten it up. And the fun thing is oil and water don't mix, and the same thing with the crayon, the wax and water don't mix, so they create this fun resist. Well, that finishes up our Giving Tree art lesson. I hope you really enjoyed it, and always remember, when you are creating art, to relax, have lots of fun, and keep creating. Happy holidays, everyone.